kind of like taxes. It's one of those things that nobody really wants to do, but yet we have to. But there are so many questions regarding car insurance. When do we need it? What kind of car insurance do we want? What happens if you don't have it? Well, good news is we'll get some answers today. We're starting a special series with Tom Sinas of the Sinas Dramis law firm, talking all about car insurance. Tom, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. It can be kind of a bore and kind of a slog, but really important, obviously.
Absolutely. So let's start with the basics. Who needs car insurance?
All right, great place to start. The place we start are with two words: owners or registrants of motor vehicles. Most people, of course, thinking of themselves as an owner of a motor vehicle. And here we're going to divide it into those of us who are Michiganders and those of us out of state. So if you are an owner or a registrant of a motor vehicle here in the state, you are required to secure insurance that's required, the type of insurance required by law. We'll talk about that. You're required to secure that insurance for the motor vehicle. Now, that's only true during the time in which the motor vehicle is going to be driven on the road, but that's the general rule. Now, what if you're an out-of-state resident? Well, a non-resident owner or registrant of a car can be required to secure the insurance required by Michigan law if that car is going to be operated on the roads in this state for more than 30 days in a calendar year. So those are the people who have to obtain insurance.
Okay. So, but in Michigan, we feel like it's a little bit more confusing here. I mean, our insurance historically has been different than a lot of other places. So what kind of insurance do we need?
Okay, great question, because you're right. There are the kind of insurance that you need that's required by law, and then those types of insurance that are optional, which maybe you should get, but maybe aren't necessarily required. So three kinds of insurance that are required by Michigan law. The first is what we commonly call no-fault benefits. The second is what is called property protection insurance. This deals with damage to buildings or other structures in the event of a car crash. And the third, liability insurance. Liability insurance, the kind of insurance that would provide coverage for you if you caused a crash and injured someone else. So the three, again, no-fault benefits, which include most significantly medical expense coverage and lost wages, property insurance, and the liability insurance. Now, notably absent from that list is, for example, collision coverage. Now, of course, if you have a car and you want to protect the investment in your car, or if you have a car loan or a lease and they require it, many people have collision coverage and probably should have collision coverage, but it isn't one of the forms of insurance required by law. Same is true for things like uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage. We've talked about this before over the years. Very important coverage to have. Generally very affordable, but technically not required.
Okay, so that's kind of confusing. How do people go to market and decide this is what I need to have? Okay, I know I have to have this, but then shopping for these optional products.
Well, that's a great question. There's a lot of good information online. For example, our firm's website has a lot of good information in terms of the optional coverage. The mandatory coverages, those are required to be sold. But the optional ones that I think people should strongly consider are the ones I mentioned, obviously collision and comprehensive to cover the vehicle, uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage, really important as well.
Yeah. So what are the penalties if people do not comply, if they don't have insurance?
Well, let's start first with the fact that there are potential criminal penalties. Under Michigan law, not having insurance is a misdemeanor. So if you're an owner or registrant of a car and that car is not insured and you're driving it, you can be guilty of a misdemeanor, and the misdemeanor can subject you to a monetary fine, but also Michigan law says that it can subject you to imprisonment for not more than a year. Similar concept applies for someone who is driving a car that maybe they don't own, but yet they have reason to know that that car is not insured. Again, that person, the driver, could be subject to criminal prosecution as a misdemeanor. There are some other consequences that sort of fall in the same area. For example, your driver's license can be suspended. If a court finds that you were driving and you didn't have the required insurance, then your insurance can be suspended until you prove to the Secretary of State that you had insurance, and that suspension could last as long as 30 days. all of which sort of takes us back to where we started, which is this is obviously, it can be a bit tedious, can be a bit boring, but it's serious and important stuff that people need to make sure that they're keeping close track of.
Absolutely. And even beyond criminal penalties, it's the other things you have to deal with, that if you hit something or if you get in a crash, you're not covered.
That's right. And we'll talk about those next week because it's kind of a topic unto itself.
Oh gosh, so much to digest. Tom, thank you so much. People want more information. What do they need to do?
They can find us online at www.sinusdramis.com. They can shoot us an email at info@sinusdramis.com or give us a call in West Michigan at 616-301-3333.
All right, great. Until next time, Tom, thanks so much.
Thank you.